This is a bottom-up financial revolution. This is a belief in breaking the center. Revival and chaos are merely the beginning of a new order, and collapse is nothing more than the curtain call for the old paradigm. Code is law. The crypto world returns sovereignty to individuals and lets computing power reshape trust. Welcome to Secret Talk. Actually, this show, the very first time was last year when I met Han Lin, Boss Han, in Tokyo. He said that when he was being interviewed, it didn't really feel like a conversation, that feeling. So I told him, I said, how should an interview be done? How should a talk show be done? It's not just two people sitting here, you ask a question, I answer. And then after all the questions are done, you say, I'm done, and just leave. That's not what a talk show is. Otherwise, why don't we set a benchmark? Let's really do a talk show well, do it right. Then they said, sure, let's give it a try. That's how the prototype for this Secret Talk show came about. So how do you actually make a talk show? To what extent should everyone communicate? What kind of topics should be discussed? And how do you grasp the right boundaries? How do you find a balance between mass communication and professionalism? You also have to leave some gaps so that people can discuss and participate. That's why we need to mobilize an entire professional team.
Whether it's organizing something or attending some summit or joining a panel, the goal is always to promote your own platform or project. But that's different from what we're doing now. We don't have that.
We're just chatting and the guests don't feel any pressure. And the audience doesn't feel any pressure either. We don't have any agenda, and I think Gates' sponsorship is actually a really good example of that. There are no demands at all.
Right.
You really need to have a sense of passion for this. You're more familiar with the two guests who came today, right?
Yeah, what's interesting is that they're a Hong Kong-based company. In the beginning, they were Memeland. Before Memeland, back in the Web 2 days, they were called Nightgate. Nightgate was basically the predecessor of Memeland. One of the founders was actually my junior at university. Back then, it was pretty interesting. They would just share these meme images. It was just really simple stuff to give to people. Over 20 years ago, I think at that time, no one was really doing what we were doing. Back in university, no one said, I started this myself, and now that person is already retired, right? But now they're doing really well. They have this forward-looking mindset in this area. Before it was Web 2, and now Memeland is a representative of Web 3. So they're actually doing quite well.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
They're also leading...
Yeah.
Come on, let's go meet them for a bit.
All right.
Welcome, KK. Hello, welcome, KK. Hello, you are now watching Secret Talk. Season 1, this is BJ's highest budget interview show. The guests are of the highest caliber, and it's also the highest quality interview program. We hope that through the content of these conversations, we can help you discover a rich and vibrant Web3 world and let you understand what a truly different and cutting-edge Web3 really looks like. We want to thank Gate for sponsoring and supporting the entire first season of Secret Talk. So there's a QR code on the screen. Scan it, and you can download the Gate Exchange app.
Today, Michael will introduce you to our friends from Hong Kong, KK. Everyone named Kevin is called KK, so today we will call him KKKK. He's in charge of acquisitions at Meme Strategy, a publicly listed company in Hong Kong. And Karen is from Memeland. In Hong Kong, they are both very well known, and Memeland is pretty much one of the most successful examples in the Web3 space.
So being able to get involved with memecoin so early and even get listed, would you say that's a very cutting-edge direction as well?
Yes.
Your boss really has great vision and guts. When you went public, was there already support for crypto and Web3 in Hong Kong?
Yes, about 2 years ago.
We started by doing Web 2.
Today we're going to discuss a very important topic, the cryptocurrency world. Under this theme, how do we enter the cryptocurrency market? What investment strategies should we employ? What is the right investment mindset? The pitfalls and detours we've encountered will serve as stepping stones to help us understand how to properly approach cryptocurrency investment and what mindset leads to the best results. Therefore, we hope that through this sharing of experiences, everyone can find the right way and attitude to enter the market and avoid some pitfalls. I've been in the cryptocurrency market since 2015, almost 10 years now. Let me tell you, I've fallen into every trap imaginable. Ponzi schemes, mining, futures contracts, and being hacked. When I started my own channel, my initial thought was very simple. I'm a liberal arts student. I can't understand code, and I only vaguely understand white papers. But I've paid my dues. All my early programs focused on telling people what not to touch. I don't know what the future holds, but I know what you absolutely must avoid. So don't touch futures contracts. Don't touch money. Don't touch high leverage games. And don't believe in high return promises. As long as you don't try to get something for nothing, you won't suffer big losses. So I think the Web3 arena is fair. It is fair, but there are principles you must follow to enter this arena. So I'd like to ask KK, in your Web3 career, have you ever experienced any setbacks or losses? Share your painful experiences so we can all have a good laugh.
Just a moment ago, we talked about a lot of different investments that really shouldn't be touched. But overall, many people think that certain specific projects are very annoying or even exceptionally risky. They often have a lot of negative reviews online, but I think the potential upside could be absolutely huge. Or maybe they see some projects that have already been led by many prominent figures in the industry. But in the end, they believe they can still make a quick buck or potentially lose everything they have. They still really want to give it a try, thinking it might be the real deal and could bring them a steady income. I think at the end of the day, it's simply because they want to make a lot of money, so they still decide to go for it anyway, even if you've already clearly set the rules. Don't do this or don't do that. So I think I've seen far too many people fall into that exact trap, and I think even today, with regulations being a bit stricter than before, people are still doing the exact same thing.
To sum it up, I think the saying goes, people can't really teach other people, but experience is the best teacher. You tell someone not to touch contracts, not to get involved with contracts, but they just wonder why they shouldn't. They think they're the chosen one, that while everyone else is losing, they're winning every day. When they lose everything, they think, oh, this is what you meant. They end up paying a hefty price to learn the lesson. So people really can't teach others. Everyone has to pay their own tuition. Today, we hope that by sharing some of our personal experiences and stories, we can let everyone know that you don't have to hit a wall to know it hurts, right? We've all been hurt before. Taryn, what about your experience? Was everything smooth for you when you first started?
Because I have a very close relationship with the community, and in these past few years, about 4 years since we started, I've seen many different generations of investors enter this space. At first, we were focused on NFTs, and you'd see a group of newcomers who were very curious about everything.
At that time, most newcomers were born in the 90s and some from the 2000s.
Honestly, back then, we rarely saw university students or people who hadn't even graduated yet. There were even some who were just 18 years old. When we chatted, I was amazed, like, wow, how do they know so much? Or sometimes if they didn't know, I didn't know either. But I feel that as all these different people came in, they each brought their own mindset. And with the different generations, even now, I think some people have matured, but there are still newcomers just entering. So how do you go about educating them?
What about you? Have you ever experienced your most painful investment failure?
I think I've been okay. The people you have around you, the friends you make, are really important. What kind of mindset they have or how they might influence you really matters.
What kind of friends do you have around you?
They're all experienced people.
People like KK, for example.
It is almost as if, well, you know.
Like Kevin.
Yes, exactly. They're all people who really have a feel for technology, people with experience or a certain level of knowledge about what's happening in this field.
So you're very obedient. Whatever they say, you just listen.
Not really, but I think you have to learn for yourself first to know who's behind the project or some of the background of the project.
What Karen and I were saying is similar. Because I spent over 10 or 20 years in investment banking before entering the crypto world, the people there were all in the same industry. So their backgrounds and ideas were pretty much the same. And when we talked about similar things. So you did not feel much difference. But after entering the crypto world, my worldview really changed. Our backgrounds are different. Some of us are just trading on exchanges and do not understand anything about it. But you do not find that kind of person in banking. But in the crypto world, I have to remind myself every day that there are over 200,000 people involved. When people buy their first Bitcoin at Bixuan, there are some things they do not understand or they are unhappy about why the education center is like this. But you have to understand the reasons behind it. Do not say, how can you be so clueless? You do not even understand this. But at Bixuan, which of us has not made a mistake when we first joined? I have had this too. A typo in my wallet, money gone. And then there is ELC20 and other mistakes. You have made mistakes too. You have definitely made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes from the beginning. So I think this is a good thing. It is not just a job, but it is about the tolerance I have encountered in my life. It encourages everyone to interact more, to understand each other better, and to have more meaningful conversations.
Sometimes I reflect on this issue. Our channel has been airing for 5 years, producing 15 minutes of content daily. We might be the content provider with the most output across all 3 web platforms, but we haven't seen the fastest growth in followers. We've relied entirely on quantity. You know, after producing a lot of content, suddenly one day a paid member asks, Michael, should I choose TLC20 or ELC20? You realize, okay, you've been a 4-year member and you're still asking me this question about which link. At first I was annoyed because after all this time you're still asking such basic questions. But then I thought you shouldn't blame him. Maybe we've gone too far and forgotten why we started, our channel's original purpose. The intention is to educate others on how to open Pandora's box, how to enter a world filled with the law of the jungle, and how to achieve the results they deserve. However, because we feel we've overlooked the fact that someone might have just started buying their first asset last month, we need to provide them with a complete and thorough understanding so they can gain a sense of belonging and achieve their goals. Therefore, we've started to reflect again. Our content should actually be geared towards external audiences, helping more people understand and lowering the entry barrier. Yes, so today we're addressing the issue of lowering the entry barrier. If we're facing a complete novice, what advice should we give them? How should we provide them with the most suitable investment advice?
Here is some very helpful and practical advice for you to carefully consider in your situation. Make a lot of different investments or try various discounts, but with very small amounts. So for each coin, you just put in $100 or $200, but you buy a lot of them. For each one, you learn a bit more because once you put money in, you'll pay more attention. You don't need to put in 10 or 20,000 every time, just 100 for each is enough. But for each one, you do more research, and that way you get involved in the community. But the simplest thing is to really put your heart into it. I tell my friends, because I don't watch soccer, and they tell me, you pay money, you place a bet on a soccer game, and then you'll watch it, because that way you'll watch for 90 minutes. But if I didn't put money in, I wouldn't watch for 90 minutes.
Spending money is the real deal. You have to spend money to buy direct experience. Just like you said today, you tell them to buy mainstream assets, you tell them to buy Bitcoin, to allocate most of their funds there. And if they want meme coins or small coins, just invest a small amount like 100 or 200, but they won't listen. They'll say, why should I buy Bitcoin? It's so expensive, over 100,000. With that, I could buy several phones. There are so many zeros, I just can't accept it. People who are just getting into this really can't accept it. This is a kind of investment mentality. At the beginning, everyone wants to make a lot of money and get rich quickly. This kind of mindset just leads them to riskier and riskier places.
Yes, but at the same time, the answer is that the easiest way to lose money is always the same.
I have a very practical little tip, which is that nowadays with social media or all the chat groups you might be in, I think if you're a beginner, you need to be careful about which groups you join. When you enter a chat room, you actually don't know who's in there. You don't know their backgrounds, and you don't know how the atmosphere might influence your decisions. So I think the first thing you need to do is to set boundaries for yourself and be vigilant. What you need to pay extra attention to is what they're talking about, whether their voices and opinions might influence you. So you have to be careful.
What he said is very true. There are many scam groups called pig butchering groups or pig butchering scams. These groups have over 1,000 people chatting, but you're the only real user. Everyone else is just chatting. It's terrifying and it's hard to guard against. My advice is if you join such a group, listen to what they're talking about. If they're showing off how much money they made today, how much they made tomorrow, how much they made the day before yesterday, or how much they made with this teacher, it's like they're making money every day. They're only seeing the thief eating meat, not the thief getting beaten. But if they're losing money, show me how. Of course, there are gains and losses. Okay, that's one example. If they're consistently making money, and if someone keeps greeting you and constantly messaging you on QQ, that's a red flag. Also, you need to check if they're trying to get you to buy mainstream assets, like KK suggested, such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, spot trading, or other valuable assets. This is normal, but there's a catch. If they recommend an exchange and tell you to download it there, please be wary. With Google and so many search tools, search for that exchange. If it's ranked below 20, be very cautious. It might not even be ranked 20 or exist. If you can't download it from the Apple Store or Google Play, why would you download it? That's because they're targeting you to scam you. That's the beginning of the scam. If you can't control your greed, you'll go in for the interest and then lose your principal. That's called a pig butchering scam, right?
Yeah, I think we seem to be sharing some very basic tips. But honestly, a lot of people just don't know them, or many people don't pay attention.
There will also be normal conversations.
Right, but they just don't know which groups are potentially life-threatening. They have absolutely no clue whatsoever. I think this is something that every single person critically needs to be educated about.
Yeah, you really have to go through it once to understand.
Every cycle, there are always people asking me how to get into crypto. I think the most basic thing is to have them set up their own wallet, just like we mentioned earlier. If you've actually operated one yourself, you'll know how on-chain transactions work, what gas fees are and all that. If you just buy tokens through an exchange, you don't get any of that experience. So this part is really important. Another thing is actually from the very beginning, crypto was created as a kind of asset for accumulation. So in fact, everything on-chain is transparent and public. One of the biggest issues in crypto is actually that there's too much information. If you want to look at it all, it's just too much, and there are too many scanners to check. You can't possibly look at everything, but you still have to start somewhere. If you start looking at this, it's actually better than just focusing on which group is good or bad, because on-chain data doesn't lie. So I think that's fine. But there are still people like KK who, when you tell them to just start by buying $100 worth, they refuse. Instead, they keep asking me which alpha is the best, which one will 100x, which one should I buy to get the best return. I tell them, please don't do that, okay?
Most people are like this. They don't do any research or homework. They just want you, as the gatekeeper, to tell them what to buy. They say, I'll give you my money, you keep it for me, and help me make a profit.
There are people like this in every cycle. That's why we have Gate Learn, which is free. We believe that in this crypto space, in this ecosystem, we should do something not just for profit, but to help those who are new to the crypto world, our community, learn a bit. Whether it's about different blockchains or how wallets work, we can provide education in these areas.
By interacting on-chain, people learn that there are differences between blockchains and that wallets are not interoperable. If you send to the wrong address, it's a big problem. Once you've paid that tuition by losing funds a few times, you realize you really can't get it back. It's truly gone. So I think this is a lesson everyone has to learn. But after saying this, will it make people feel that the entry barrier to crypto is actually quite high and make them hesitant to join? Will there be such concerns? People might think, is it really that easy to get into crypto? If I set up a wallet and complete a transaction, does that mean I've entered the space?
Looking at it separately, actually setting up a wallet isn't that difficult.
Yes, it's very easy, but
it still comes down to belief, whether you believe in BTC, whether you believe in this whole thing. And there's still a psychological barrier you have to cross, and that's the harder part. For example, with my grandma, I can help her set up a wallet on the computer without any problem. But if I try to explain to her what Bitcoin is, that really takes a lot of effort. So I think the real difficulty lies there.
I've seen some newbies who just got into the industry and immediately buy a bunch of altcoins. When the price goes up, they're super happy and feel like they're the king of the world, a winner at life. But when the price drops, they're the type to say, I was tricked. It was all because someone told me to buy it.
That's totally normal. Everyone goes through that stage.
Yeah, so have you ever been complained to? Like, have you ever recommended an asset to a friend, and then when that asset crashed, did they blame you for it?
I think every project team has to deal with these kinds of complaints. It's inevitable. There are always both positive and negative comments. Every day people are asking, when will development be done? It's always when.
Yeah, or when will the price be pumped? When will the tokens be unlocked?
It's because they've put their money into the market, so they don't have inner strength or patience. They're just always thinking about making a profit. So they don't really understand the process behind what we're developing, or that there's a certain timeline involved, right?
To build it, you need to have a good mindset when entering this circle. Money is very close to you here. Making money is easy, but losing money is also easy and can happen very quickly. I remember when I first invested in Bitcoin, I made money very quickly. But after you understand the logic, I'll tell you that I learned 5 different schools of candlestick analysis techniques. What are the 5 schools, such as the Shanghai School and the 9 turns? There's also the use of the Bagua diagram to analyze candlestick charts. When I first started learning, I felt that if a teacher couldn't explain things I didn't understand, they couldn't be my teacher. After learning 5 different schools of thought, I realized that the simplest things are the most useful. Don't tell me all that nonsense, you'll understand. 3 indicators are enough, and those 3 simplest indicators are the most accurate, with extremely high accuracy rates. They can even let you use just 1 moving average for everything. Okay, at this point you understand and you have a sense of awe. After understanding, you start to think you're amazing and start trading contracts on your own. You don't believe in superstitions. You think you're a person with risk control capabilities. You convince yourself that what you've learned can't be useless, right? So when I started trading contracts, I took 100,000 RMB. I told myself that even if I lost it all, it was fine because I could bear the risk of loss. So the first point is to use money you can afford to lose to enter this world. I made 250,000 RMB in a week, and then I said, okay, I'll stop at 500,000, 800,000, 1 million, stop at 2 million. I kept betting heavily, and you just kept guessing the right direction. Then the multiplier kept increasing, and when it reached 8 million, going from 100,000 to 8 million was a good investment. I thought that when it reached 10 million, I would definitely stop and go back to zero.
Wow, don't you think your portfolio actually reflects your personality? It's even more accurate than astrology. Just by looking at your portfolio, you can tell what kind of person you are.
So, you know, that experience really let me fully go through the mindset of a gambler in B-Trap. What is the gambler's mentality like? When you make money, you think, wow, this is so easy. Everything in this circle is bright and sunny. Everyone is lovely. Everyone is smiling at me. I am the chosen one. I can't make a wrong bet. I can keep spinning. I can keep winning. But when you hit zero, you realize, oh, that's what contracts are really like. You can chop wood for 1,000 days, but it only takes 1 day for it all to burn. You can win 99 times, but lose once, and you're back to zero. That's when you start to develop a sense of awe and respect. So I think for everyone just entering, you need to ask yourself, how much are you willing to pay in tuition here? How much loss can you bear? At the very beginning, I suggest everyone treat this as a risk market. Do you all agree? High risk inevitably comes with high returns. So you should only invest money you can afford to lose in this market. If you lose, it doesn't affect your life. It's no big deal. You can keep going. Then you need to see if you have the possibility of putting in more principal, and only after going through this trial by fire can you get the result you want. Karen, have you ever experienced this kind of contract awkwardness, or have you ever been scammed or burned before?
Of course, there definitely have been times, but honestly, I feel like I have pretty good self-control. For me, it's because no matter what news you hear, you know there will always be risks. So risk management is really important. Also, you have to control your budget, how much you're going to put in. You have to tell yourself, this is my limit, and only then move on to the next step, whatever that may be.
So first, you need to clearly define your own boundaries.
A friend once told me that you should set your maximum loss at 0, but you also need to set a cap on your maximum profit, just like your story. He said if it's 3 times or 4 times, that should be the most. If it goes up 4 times, you should stop. You shouldn't wait for it to go up even more. 2 or 3 times is enough. He said if you never cash out, then the money isn't really yours until the day you actually take it out. A lot of times, many friends say PTC went up so much, but I had already exited a week ago. I didn't wait until the last day because I had already set a limit for myself.
You need to have your own take profit and stop loss lines. I do not care if Bitcoin or whatever you are trading is going to go up 10 times, 20 times, 4 times, or 2 times. Once I have reached my target, I immediately cash out. This is a very pragmatic investment philosophy.
You might not make as much money, but it's a bit safer.
To put it theoretically, you can never sell at the absolute peak, and you can never buy at the absolute bottom. Cashing out your profits at the right time is a way to secure your gains.
Let me tell a story. In the last cycle, back in 2021, I had just come from a traditional bank. In traditional banking, it's simple. If a stock goes up 5%, that's great. You cash out, sell, and that's considered rational and impressive. But at that time, in the crypto space, I felt that wasn't enough. Everyone around me was making more money than I was. So I thought I needed to step up my game. I also did some research myself and looked into some projects. I thought, this one looks good. Back then, the concept of NFTs was emerging, and even Elon Musk had mentioned it. I checked out this team, liked their style, bought in, and it did really well, and the numbers went up. But then on the first day I wondered, is 20 times enough? Is 30 times enough? I didn't know what was enough. Just like KK said earlier, I just left it there and didn't cash out. I thought, if it can go 30 times, why can't it go 100 times? So as you can imagine, it did a round trip. The price went up and then came all the way back down.
It was like riding a roller coaster.
At that time, I realized that the mindset from traditional finance didn't work, but just blindly chasing high returns didn't work either. So I kept thinking about what the right approach should be, and I still have to keep learning. In the end, even now, I haven't really bought any meme coins. Sorry about that. I still feel most comfortable with Bitcoin and the major blue chip coins. Those are what I personally prefer.
Karen, you just mentioned that you can see a person's personality from their portfolio. So based on my portfolio at that time, how would you analyze what kind of personality traits I might have had?
You can't control it when your ego has already inflated. When it swells up, you don't know how to rein it in. You just think, I still believe I can climb over another mountain. You have to control your ego. I really think this is true because I've met so many different people, both in this group and at events, and I've chatted with them online as well. Some of them at first weren't that arrogant. They were actually a very honest group of people. But gradually you notice they've changed too. Some of them have almost become people who are no longer themselves, and even their families start having problems.
Speaking of this project, it suddenly reminds me of a rather magical project. Let's not mention its name for now. It's an app where you just log in every day, tap a button, and you'll get some tokens. They claimed it was a blockchain project. I actually worked on this project in its early days, but now it's locked. It started 5 years ago. Every day, you log in, tap a button, watch some ads, and you'll get tokens. Back then, I did a show commenting on it saying this had nothing to do with blockchain at all. Basically, you just watch ads every day and get some points. But if these points have no value backing them, even if they're listed or put on the blockchain, they're dead. You can't find any buyers, only sellers. I got heavily criticized for that episode to the point where I had to take it down myself. It's still the same now. As soon as you mention that project, you'll get attacked because I just don't see any value in it. But that group of people doesn't see it that way. So when you talk about consensus, what does it really mean? Is consensus really necessary? There's even a saying, even the consensus of fools is still consensus, right? But do you think that counts as taking a detour? Does it? Would you say that's being led astray?
A lot of these stories, a lot of different projects, there's something similar going on, but many of them don't believe they've been deceived, and there are others like that too. They believe, I know someone who knows someone working there. My friend says he's a pretty good guy. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's just how they feel. Again, I think
it's just that the story is still pretty funny. After all, it's our platform. It's just that a lot of people are really eager, always wanting to come in. Over here, as expected, they just come in waves, right? But inevitably, when something goes down in the future, that's when they'll come looking for us. They'll complain to us. Are they trading here, or what exactly are they doing?